Hello, thank you for joining us on our webinar today. My name is Melanie Deacon and I'm a client manager at Seymour Taylor in the Accounts and Audit Department. I'm here with you today to speak about making tax digital for income tax self-assessment, which, as you can understand, is a bit of a mouthful. So they've abbreviated it to MTD for ITSA. In the beginning, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the regulations, and then I'm going to pass you over to Gray, who is our Sage Accounts Manager, who'll just tell you a little bit about what Sage are doing for us to help us and to help you as our clients. And then he'll pass you over to Felix, who is also from Sage, and he'll show you a little bit about one of their Sage products, Sage Start. And then from there, we'll also look at Hammock, who've recently been partnered with Sage. And it's a landlord software, established landlord software. So that's how it's going to go. So just to tell you a little bit about making tax digital, the story so far. So HMRC looked several years ago at bringing making tax digital because they wanted to become the foremost digitally advanced tax administration. They wanted to do this because they felt it would help reduce the number of errors that people had on their tax returns and other data. And they also wanted to make life easier for businesses and for individuals. And they wanted to be able to communicate better with the public. So they started the MTD campaign. So this started back in 2019 when VAT registered businesses over 85,000 had to start submitting their VAT returns quarterly through MTD. Then in April of this year, all VAT registered businesses, no matter what their turnover, had to start submitting their VAT returns through Making Tax Digital. So going forward, they will be looking at partnerships and corporation tax under MTD. But at the moment, we are going to look at what's happening for individuals and landlords going forward from April 2024. So in April 2024, like I say, individuals and partnerships will have to start filing income and expenditure statements to HMRC quarterly. These income and expenditure statements won't actually include any adjustments like depreciation and prepayments and accruals and other things like that you would normally include at the year end. They will be based on your cash figures if you are on cash accounting, or on invoice basis of your invoice basis, and it will only look at your income and expenditure or rental income and costs for your landlords. Once these quarterly returns have done, they're due a month after the quarter end. Once they're filed, then you will look at preparing end of year statement, which will then include the depreciation, prepayments and accruals, etc., that you would normally prepare for your personal tax returns. So that end of year period and your tax return, if you have bank interest or other forms of income, will be due by the 31st of January. At present, there's no change to the payment dates, so they will still remain at 31st of January and 31st of July. Obviously Seymour Taylor has started looking at April 2024 because although it sounds a long way away, it's not really. So we've started to encourage our clients to start looking at it and start preparing for it, so we can get you onto a software as early as possible, so you can get used to it and avoid any problems in the transition. We decided to partner with Sage as their leading providers in this area. They're very proactive, helping us and helping clients get onto softwares. So up until quite recently, I would have only been showing you one software today. However, Sage have just partnered with Hammock, who is a well-established landlord solution. We'll be seeing a demo from them shortly. So I'll pass you over to Gray and see how you'll be able to see what he has to say.
Thank you very much, Melanie, for that introduction. And obviously the legislative updates with regards to making tax digital for ITSA. A very quick overview from myself. I work for Sage, as Melanie's already alluded. I've been at Sage 7 years as a field practice success manager, and Seymour Taylor are one of my accountancy practices that I look after, and hopefully now I've got a very good relationship with. But my main focus is to support Seymour Taylor, Melanie and the rest of the team with the transition for clients to move on to digital record keeping solutions. If you're not aware of who Sage are, I'm sure you probably all are, but Sage have been going for about 40 odd years now. And I guess our sweet spot is compliance. Not very exciting, I know, but all our software is both MTD for VAT and MTD for ITSA compliant. In terms of, I guess, today and the outcomes today and onwards, we will be recording these sessions. So future, you could look at this at your own leisure in terms of the software capabilities that Felix, my enablement manager colleague, will be running through in a second. Again, Melanie did allude to the fact of Hammock. Again, Karima, one of my new colleagues from Hammock, will be running through that solution at the end. Sage has an exclusive partnership with Hammock as of October last month. And that is a fantastic piece of software that will focus around the landlord arena. So I guess in terms of after today's event moving forward, if you have any questions or queries from the session, please file them across. But in terms of assets and support for both Seymour Taylor and for individual clients who need to move on to digital solutions, Sage has a raft of information and support, be that from myself or Felix, on our website, training assets, information, videos, and alike. So please feed that through to Seymour Taylor if you need any more support, advice, or information. And Sage, care of Seymour Taylor, will be more than happy to help you as and when appropriate. So in terms of the next session, I'm going to pass you over to Felix, who will run through our current offerings in terms of individuals for self-assessment, which is a product called Accounting Start. Please be aware that we are also bringing a new product into the marketplace next April, not a million miles away, called Individual, and Felix will cover that at a high level as well before passing over to our Hammock colleague. Thank you very much. Over to you, Felix.
Thanks, Gray. Passing that over. As Gray mentioned, my name is Felix, part of the enablement team at Sage, i.e. a glorified trainer. So the purpose of this session, my slot, is just to provide you with a high-level overview of the Accounting Start package that we currently have, and also to give you an overview of the individual license that's going to become available by April next year. If you just bear me 1 minute and I'll share my screen with you so we can go through the product. Just let me know once my screen comes up on your end. Excellent. So with Sage Business Cloud, you don't need to download or install anything. It's a fully cloud-based product that is accessible from your internet web browser. So to access the system, come to our webpage, sage.com. I will cover this towards the end as well, but there is also a mobile app that's available that you can download and install from any smartphone or tablet. So in essence, you don't even necessarily need to be on your computer or your laptop to be able to view your business finances, record transactions, and have everything at your fingertips on the go. But otherwise, if you are on your web browser, on your computer or laptop, simply go to our webpage, sage.com. And then from there, when you click the login button on the top right, it will be Sage Business Cloud Accounting and Payroll that will need to be selected for you to be able to log in to access your business account. Once you enter your email address and password to be able to log into the system, you will then be given access to your business license, which we can see here is the company that I've now gone into, Martins & Sons. With this license that we can see here, which is the Accounting Start, it's primarily suited for those businesses that deal with payments, receipts, income and expenditure. There is sales invoicing facility in the product if you do need to generate sales during the course of the year, but primarily you'll be working from the banking page to be able to categorize and record those transactions. So in the summary tab here, we can see transactions and balances for the year and for the month, get into the granular detail in terms of the transactions that have been posted. So I mentioned if you need to generate sales, you can do that from the sales tab. The cash book just gives you a list of the bank and cash accounts that you've set up and the contacts areas where you can view your customers and suppliers. But as I mentioned, with cash-based businesses, ideally you'll be primarily working from the banking page here, where you can set up all the relevant business bank accounts by choosing the bank account option. Now, once the bank account is added onto the dashboard, you have two options in terms of how you can get the statements into the system. The first option is import statement. Now, the benefit of the import statement is it could be suitable for those clients that don't want to connect to the bank feed, bearing in mind that you do need to provide these statements to Seymour Taylor weekly, monthly, or however much you want to get your records up to date. Where you want to upload manually, you need any one of these file types to be able to bring the statement lines into the system. So whether it's QIF, CSV, Excel, as long as you have any one of these statement file types, you can provide that file type to Seymour Taylor, or if you're uploading it yourselves, you can upload it into the system to perform the reconciliation. The other option, which we highly recommend, simply because it saves you from having to provide these statements on a regular basis each time, is that you have the option to connect to the bank feed. So if I choose the bank feed option there, it's literally a 4-step wizard where initially you identify the bank account that you want to connect to. So most of the popular banks are visible on a dashboard, but where the account isn't visible, you can start typing in the name of the account within the search bar. So typing in Metro there, you can see it's available for selection, Monzo, Coots, Starling, all the major banks connected by the bank feed. So once the account appears for selection, choose it. The system will then indicate the credentials it requires for the connection to be made. And once you go through those 4 steps, you get the bank account connected to the bank feed. Now, the benefit of the connection is read-only connection. So it can't physically do anything within your actual bank account. All it does is it provides yourself and Seymour Taylor real-life status update in terms of everything that's been processed within the bank account. So once the statement lines become available, irrespective of whether you've manually imported or chosen the option to connect to the bank feed, you'll be able to see the notification in terms of where you can go to categorize and post those transactions into the system. So if I click that notification there, it'll take us into this current bank account, which you can see there. You can see the statement lines are available for categorization, and these are the entries we can see on the left-hand side. When you're categorizing, is this section here on the right. Primarily, you'll be working off this create option because the match is only suitable if you use the invoicing facility. But where you're just posting the transactions directly from the bank statement that's been imported in, you just need to be on this create tab. You can then categorize where it's going to be coded to. So if this was sales, other income, I can then categorize to the relevant nominal. If it relates to a specific customer, I can choose it, but that option is not mandatory. Once I've entered all the details for this statement line that I want to code and categorize to the system, I simply click create, that will reconcile and have it posted into the books. Using this second line here for the payment, I can categorize it to the relevant expense nominal. So if this was bank charges, I can categorize that there. Using another example, motor expenses, fuel, I can choose that motor expenses nominal. And another facility that you have from the create tab is you can split across multiple line items. So in a scenario where you've gone to the filling station, filled up, let's imagine all the 75 pounds was not all for fuel. You can then categorize to whatever transactions or items have been purchased at the time that you were there. So fuel coded to the motor expenses, drink, whichever expense nominal, paper, whichever expense nominal, choose the tax rate. I can then apportion the total statement line over those line items that I'm creating here to then be able to create and reconcile. The other facility that you have from within the create, and it also applies to this transfer option, that's if the payment or receipt is a transfer between one or the other bank accounts that you set up, is that you have this facility called bank rules. The benefit of the rules is where you have those regular payments and receipts that go in and out of the account all the time, you can use the information from the importer statement line, especially if it doesn't change from period to period, whereby you can set rules, call the rule anything you want to call it. You can then set conditions in place whereby any condition that you set up, because you can set up more than one, any existing or future statement line that comes in that meets all of these conditions, You can then stipulate to the system how it pre-populates everything on the right-hand side there for your reconciliation and categorization. So I can specify this as money or receipt coming in. I can code it to the relevant ledger, enter the description, reference. Once I save that in place, any existing or future statement line will have everything on the right-hand side pre-populated for me based on this rule that I've set up. And all I simply need to do is click create, and I wouldn't need to go through and make the relevant selections. So that's how you can get the statement lines into the system, categorize them, and post them to their respective nominals. Once categorized, you'll then be able to generate your relevant reports. So from the reporting page, if you need management reports, P&L to see how much income the system, the business is generating, you have your P&L there, balance sheet, age debtors. So you have all the essential reports there in order to see how the business is going along. Of course, the essential report, the VAT return, can be submitted directly from the product to HMRC. And the benefit of this digital platform is that it recognizes the periods that the transactions are being posted to, and you can submit the VAT return knowing that those figures you're submitting are correct for those periods based on whatever transactions have been posted within the software. Now, this is just the accounting start license here, and it's fully collaborated with yourselves and Seymour Taylor. One thing to highlight is that I mentioned we're going to look at the individual tier to provide you with an overview of that. That's another license that's available depending on the functionality. We do have other tiers, so if you need multi-currency, we have more licenses available, and all of them will be MTD compliant depending on the functionality required. Now, once MTD for ITSA comes into effect, one thing that's going to come into this accounting start is a taxes tab that you'll be able to view and do your quarterly submissions, end of period statement, and final declaration from. Now, I appreciate we can't show you live in the product yet because it's not yet within the system, but we do have some screenshots to show you how that product will look like. Let me just open up this PowerPoint slide deck. I'll just expand. So this is an example of the accounting start license with the taxes tab incorporated within it once MTD for ITSA comes into effect. So you can see a money in transaction there, a money out transaction, but where we click the taxes tab, we can then see the tax liability over any quarter. So scrolling down the page just a little bit further, we can see right at the bottom or in the middle section, we can see our different quarters that we can do our submission for. Once each quarter submission becomes available, because it will have specific dates that you could be able to review and submit from, you will then be able to go in, review and submit based on whatever transactions have been recorded and categorized within the accounting software. Now, because those quarterly submissions are estimates, what the system allows you to do is in a scenario where you've gone to a previous submission, you've edited or amended some transactions, you can review and resubmit the quarters as many times as you need, because it's only when you come to do the end of period statement and the final declaration where you get all of those income streams combined to do the final declaration to HMRC, in addition to those allowances, depreciation, and all of those additional expenses and income related revenue streams. So looking at this first quarter here, I can view a breakdown of the income at the top. Scrolling down a bit further, I get a full listing of all the expenses. I can download a hard copy of those transactions if I want a physical hard copy, but otherwise I can click submit quarterly update right at the bottom. Where you submitted once before, when you go in, you have the option to resubmit as many times as required. Similar to the VAT return, because it has an integration with HMRC, when you click to submit, it will link it directly via HMRC and do the submission from the product. You can see there, once the submission is done, we get a tax estimate. You can see on the dashboard, we can click into the tax estimate, review the calculations and everything that's been accounted for in terms of the income and expenses. We can also see here that we have a notices tab where we can see any messages that is coming through from HMRC in relation to that quarterly submission. So I can drill down, view the details. Next thing we're going to cover is the individual license that's going to become available April next year. With the individual license is a more condensed version of the accounting start license. So there's a different user interface compared to what we saw before, in that the navigation isn't at the top of the screen. The navigation can be found on the left-hand side. Unlike the accounting start, which had invoicing facility, the individual is primarily for connecting to the bank, posting and categorizing those transactions to then be able to do the quarterly submissions and the period statement and the final declaration. This is why within this side panel on the left-hand side, you don't see any sales option, just transactions, and then the taxes and the banking. In the middle section here, we can see where we can categorize to. You can split across different nominals or categorize different transactions depending on whether they're expendable or non-expendable. You can attach files as well and save to record and reconcile. In terms of the categories that you have available, you'll be able to choose from the relevant categories for the income and expenditure, which will then collate in the relevant periods for those quarterly submissions. So within the taxes section, you'll be able to integrate and connect to HMRC, similar to what you can do in the product for standard MTD VAT submissions. Enter your HMRC credentials, which will then give you access to the quarterly submissions within the individual platform. So similar to what we saw for the accounting start, you can go into each quarterly submission as required, get a breakdown of all the income and expenditure for each quarter. You'll then have the option to submit right at the bottom. Once you go to submit, that will then put the submission through. Similar to what we saw with the accounting start, each quarter you can resubmit as many times as you need if there are any amendments or changes. Once the quarter has been submitted and you've gone through and submitted all your relevant quarters for that particular period, that tax year, right at the bottom of the fourth quarter, you have the end of period statement, whereby clicking that option, you'll then be able to add any additional adjustments, allowable accounting, disallowable adjustments. You can account for all of those other things that you've not accounted for within those quarterly submissions that you've sent to HMRC during the course of the year. So clicking into that there, I can add whatever adjustments that I need, business entertainment, travel, advertising and marketing, at which point I'll then be able to review in addition to the quarterly submissions and submit the end of period statement directly from the product. Now, I mentioned at the start in terms of logging into the system that you can do so directly from your web browser if you're on your computer or your laptop, but there is also a mobile app that you can download on any smartphone, Android or iOS, whether it's a smartphone or tablet. The benefit of that is rather than having to log in from your computer, you can have everything at your fingertips. You can raise transactions directly from the app. You can view your balances and have more real life update in terms of everything that's happening within the business. You can view close estimates, invoices that have been posted. I'll just skip along a little bit further just to go to what may be applicable for yourselves, and that just looking at actual payments and receipts, because the invoicing facility is there, but if it's not required, it doesn't need to be used. In this scenario here, we're looking at how a payment can be recorded and or a receipt. So you can enter the details, the amount, whatever description information you want to enter in. You can categorize into its respective nominal. You can add line items, and we can see there, we have an option to attach and upload file. So whether you save it in your photo gallery or whether you want to take the image there and then because you have the receipt, you can snap it directly from within the app, attach it to the transaction, and have that image digitized to that transaction that's been posted. So that's the benefit of Sage Business Cloud Accounting Start and the individual license that we've looked at. All of them will be MTD ITSA compliant. It allows you to collaborate with your accountant, i.e. Seymour Taylor, for them to provide you with real life advisory services to better manage your business and hopefully make more income. So thank you guys for taking the time this afternoon. That concludes my session. I'll now pass it over to Karima to take you through Hammock.
Brilliant. So, so this is Hammock. This will be the first page that you see. So if you own more than one property, then your profit and loss will show on this graph. If you decide you want to acquire more properties, you've got tools such as an asset analysis, rental yield and market risk, so you can make those decisions. But the majority of the time, what we use this page for is to check when your upcoming payments are expected from your tenants and if your tenants are in any arrears. We cater to an array of different ownership. So if you've got personal ownership of 100%, we've got a portfolio for that. If you've got a joint ownership, we also tailor to that. And we've also got a business type portfolio. So if you've got a limited company, then you can create that portfolio and put properties in there. So why this part is quite important is on the tax statement, when you create these ownerships, if I view details here, you can actually switch between the ownership, but also you can see the percentage of what each individual landlord owns. Now, the next step will be properties. So if we go to properties, I've already added my properties. So if I just click onto Corn Street here, on the property page itself, you'll be able to view a profit and loss analysis for the property, your tenant's information, any documents that you upload for it. And you'll also be able to review your mortgage evaluations and your energy performance certificate. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you, I've already added my tenant on. So I'm just going to go to tenancies. We cater to tenancies with and without a letting agent. So we can do both. So what we're going to do is we're going to now go to the transactions page, and I'm just going to show you just how easy it is to track your rental income. We use open banking for our bookkeeping. So we've got an array of different filters. I'm just going to type in the name of my letting agent. So as you can see, it's filtered out to all of the rental income payments. I'm going to go to the 28th of April. I'm just going to track that. The reason why I'm going only here is because I've started my tenancy from this period. So I'm just going to click on, I've already clicked to track. I'm going to click rental income. I'm going to click on Corn Street, and I'm going to just save that. So you'll be able to see the rental income and the letting agent fees. Now, if I click on view matching transactions, a history of my rental incomes will appear, and I just need to tick everything that I need to tick, and then I'll just track that. So now going forward, Hammock will automatically track the rental income. Now, if I wanted to track expenses, I can use this transaction type filter to track expenses. So if I decided to type in EDF, I've just filtered it out to EDF payments. I'm just going to click to track. We've got more categories in the expense side. So I'm just going to click on utilities, energy. I'm going to select the property. You can even select a portfolio if you would like, and you can just save that now. So now we've got search and track, and the difference is I can just tick here. And then going forward, Hammock will just track that to the property, and I'm just going to update those transactions. So it's quite easy, especially if, let's say, you've made a mistake and you realize that this payment was for a different property. It's very easy to just unlink it and start again. Now, you can sync with as many banks as you like. We are FCA approved. We use a read-only function as well. If you've made a cash payment, you can add a transaction in manually. So if I create an expense, let's say I bought some furniture, and I said that I bought my furniture yesterday and I paid £100, and I selected maintenance. It was a replacement of items for a property. I'm just going to save that. Now we know if we go to the filter, click on manual, and then you'll be able to also add a note, so you can specify what it was that you made as an expense, and you can also add a receipt. And there's two ways you can add the receipt. You can take a picture of it on our mobile app and you can upload it, or you can drag and drop it and it will attach itself to the transaction. Now, another feature that we have as well is you only need to track what you need to track for your rental properties. So if you see, let's say, for example, you did a quick shop at Tesco and it appears here, you can just ignore that. We only want to know about your properties. Now, going forward, if I go back to the tax statement, I've tracked some income. And now, as you can see, it's verified it, and we can just track that here. Now, the next step, and some of our favorite features, is the document section. So you can upload any document you like. So I've got a gas safety certificate and an EPC that I've uploaded. I've actually been able to add expiry dates, and we'll send you a reminder 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and then 1 week and 1 day. So you'll be reminded, and then you can also edit and remove the expiry dates if you like. Any receipts that you upload to the platform will feed into here. And if there's a category on here that you need and you want to customize and put in documents yourself, you're also able to do that. We've also got our notes feature. So notes, you'll be able to review all of the notes you've made from your transactions. And if I go to reminders, you can see that I've got a couple of reminders, but this is to sort of give you a to-do list of what you need to do. Once you've completed it, it will feed into this completed tab, which will appear here. And then one of the final features, and it's our newer feature, is we have a calendar feature. So you can see all of my upcoming payments that are expected from my tenants, and I can fast forward and go backwards. So just to sort of show the overview, as you can see, we've tracked more, it's fed into here. You can input your valuations. You can input valuations when you add the property. And then if you don't know the valuation, we give you a rough estimate, and we get our data from Zoopla, the Rightmove, and the Land Registry. And it's just very easy to sort of edit information, adjust it, and so forth. So that is pretty much the platform. Of course, you'll be able to see it more when you sign up. But yeah, we've also got our training videos as well. So you can view our videos on how to track rental payments, how to unlink transactions, how to do split transactions as well. And we've also got our live chat as well as our support line, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible if you have any questions.
Do any of you have any questions about that? I was very...
I've got one. I've got personal property down to myself. I've also got a company which has property in it, and I've also got a daughter that owns property. Can I set up, will the software allow all those under one license?
So if I believe that your daughter would need another license if it's her property. And is it a property associated with you? Is it like a 50-50 ownership?
No, it's outright owned by herself.
Yeah, so she would need to have a license for her own property, but for yourself, you can add your...
Myself would be okay, I know that.
Yeah, brilliant.
Any other questions?
What is the cost of a license?
So the cost would be through Seymour Taylor. It would be included within your fee, but it's not. It's quite small. Retail price is £4.99 for 1 to 3 properties through Hammock's website themselves. So we get obviously getting it discounted, so it'd be less than that.
And above 4 properties or 3 to 4 properties?
Sorry, Karim, what's the retail price for the...
Sure. So for 1 to 3 properties, it's £4.99, and for 4 to 10 properties, it's £9.99 plus VAT.
Yeah, so
So do you mean per month? £4.99 or £490?
£4.99. Yeah, and that's and like I said, we get
And that's per month.
Yes, yeah, that's direct to Hammock. But obviously, you would go through Seymour Taylor.
Yeah.
Anyone could go on Hammock's website anytime, any day, 24/7, 365 days a year, and it's already got the properties there. Sorry, price points.
Yeah.
But that's a landlord going direct. They still do that business. Sage, through the partnership we've got with Hammock now, and now the partnership we've got with Seymour Taylor, we give Seymour Taylor discounted rates. they'll obviously push that into your contract individually, but again, it's a very inexpensive piece of software for what it provides. And to reiterate, it's not about the compliance side. However, it will be compliant for MTD 2020, April 24 for ITSA. It's more about the features it provides to landlords now, and has done for 4 years and moving forward, and stuff like EPC that's going to come out in 2025. So it's all the stuff that it provides quite specifically for landlords that I think is a no-brainer.
It's £4.99 a month.
Yeah.
Yes, if you went direct, sir, to Hammock, but obviously we're recommending you go through Seymour Taylor because you're their client, and obviously Melly and Seymour Taylor will build that into your contract that you have with Seymour Taylor. But yeah, Seymour Taylor don't. I won't say they get a discounted rate offers, obviously.
Okay.
Sorry, Graham, I just jumped in there. Do you want to add anything else, or?
No, not at all. Do you have any other questions for me? I'm more than happy to go over something if you want to see it in more detail.
I was just going to mention, could you just have a show the EPC side of things?
Yeah.
So on the property page, right?
Yeah.
Of course. So I've got an EPC up for Corn Street. So if I go on the energy performance certificate, you'll be able to view the certificate. And to improve the quality of the property, we've also given you indicative costs. So for some properties, it might not show it. So you might need to upload one. I believe you can do that through HMRC.
Are you all aware of that legislation? Yeah.
Yeah, so the legislation is in 2025. If your property is below a grade D, you won't be allowed to rent it out. So this is why we give you these recommendations.
Thank you. That's good.
No worries.
I think the other thing I was going to suggest is the yield. Just a quick look at the yield.
Yeah, sure. So if I go back here, yeah. So this is the rental yield. These are tools for yourself to use. I guess it really just depends on the income and expenses and the type of property that you have that will determine these values. But we say the more information you put into the platform, the more you'll get out of it.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you to Gray, Felix, and to Hammock for their demos. And just to pull it back to me. So we do appreciate that all of your businesses and property portfolios are different. So we will be working with each of you to look at what the best options for you are. Whether it be you filing all 4 quarters and us preparing the EOP and the tax return as we do now, or whether you want us to review it each quarter before you file it, or whether you want us to do everything. As I say, each is different, and so unfortunately each has a different price bracket, but prices will start from £60 plus VAT in addition to your current fees. But hopefully there's some of you are watching this today. You'll be keen to get going and do get in contact with either myself or your normal Seymour Taylor supervisor assistant. Then we'll just add on at the end here some questions that we've been asked over the course of the last few weeks. If you want to have a look over those, and if they may answer some of your questions. Thanks very much for joining us. Many thanks. Bye.